When Rome went in and destroyed Jerusalem, burned it to the ground, they looted the temple, they destroyed the temple. You know, they didn't do it just in a day. There was planning involved. And do you know that Rome actually set up strongholds all around the city? They surrounded the city. And what happened? Jerusalem fell. The enemy had encamped around her, had put all these strongholds, and it was through these strongholds that it fell. Just go a couple years after the fall of Jerusalem, there was another war known as the Masada War, where all the Jewish zealots, they fled to Masada. They had had enough of Rome. They fled to Masada, and Masada was it was the premier place to be to defend because of its sheer height and its sheer walls. Well, guess what happened after Rome got done with Jerusalem? Just a couple years later, they went into Masada, and how did they take something that completely looks impossible? How did they take it? They built strongholds. They built 8 strongholds around Masada, and they built this huge ramp, and Masada fell because of the strongholds. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. The weapons that Paul is talking about here, they are mighty in God. He has my attention. Paul is he is likening the attacks of Hasatan coming against us to fortified military forces. Fortresses, mind you, that have been erected against you. They have been erected for one reason, to bring you to desolation. He is trying to convey the reality and the power of these strongholds and the power of the weapons of God. You want to put these weapons of the Lord in context? Understand how great they really are. And think about the strongholds in your life that the enemy puts up against you. Fear, doubt, sexual immorality. You have idolatry and covetousness, all the various lusts of the world, pride. You better recognize that he is erecting strongholds around you for a reason. He's coming for you. He's coming to bring you to desolation. Where do we get these weapons? Because I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to take these strongholds down that the enemy comes against to bring me to desolation. Where do I get them and what are they? Well, fortunately for us, Paul tells us what they are. Going to Ephesians 6, chapter 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. I love how he kicks this off. We are to be strong in the Lord in the power of his might. How many of you want to move in the power of his might? I mean, we fantasize about it. Believers in Yeshua they should fantasize about moving in the power of God in their life. Well, look at what Paul says. Be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. How do we move in this power? He tells us in verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God. That's how we move in the power of his might. We are to put on the whole armor. Not some, not partial. All of it. For what purpose? Well, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. And that word wiles in the Greek is methodeia. It's where we get the term method. That we may be able to stand against the methods of Satan, his modus operandi, how he moves, his military strategy against us. This is how we will stand. Going to verse 12. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. The war is spiritual. And so he says we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. This war is as intense and as intimate as it could possibly get. This is hand-to-hand combat. When the enemy is engaging you, he is actually coming to you personally. You might say, well, Daniel, I really don't want to participate in this war. I'd like to sit this one out. Not really a soldier. I'm going to tell you something. You do not have a choice. So in the interest of self-preservation, you might want to get armed. And if you don't think you're at war, then I'm really scared for you. You need to send some scouts out to start looking in your heart and in your mind and in your life for strongholds that are being erected that you don't see, because they're being erected to bring you to desolation. Verse 13, therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. You want to prevail? You are going to need to be armed to the teeth. This is serious. This is as serious as it gets. There's a reason the Apostle Paul is imparting this information. Now he continues to go on to tell us what these weapons are. This is where we really want to zero in and pay close attention. Verse 14. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace, above all, taking the shield of faith with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. And then actually goes on in verse 17 to list two more things. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. The armor listed, did you notice? It's literally from head to toe. In other words, in the sense of coverage. Every aspect of the person he's identifying that would bear this stuff is literally equipped head to toe. He is ready to go to war. He is ready to do battle against a spiritual host of wickedness, against demonic forces coming in his life, against the lust of the flesh. He is ready. In this list, I do want to draw your attention to something specific. There's one particular item here that's given preeminence over all the other items. One item Paul elevates. It stands out. And where it is we find this is in verse 16. I'll highlight this. Above all, grab your attention. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. Put that into context. Everything that Hasatan can throw at you, everything he has in his arsenal can be dispelled through the shield. Through the shield of faith. Through your faith in Yeshua, it can be dispelled. You know, when you study the history of war, you go back to the days of Paul, one of the things that you realize is the use of the bow and arrow, the use of archers in war. Archery and the use of it was very, very effective tool in warfare. It allowed you to fight from a distance. And when your arrow hit the mark, it was a kill shot. I want you to think about something. Even the kings of Israel fell in this manner. You think of Saul. Why was he wounded with a fatal wound? He was shot by the archers. Think of King Josiah. King Josiah died because the archer hit his mark. And the use of archery is very, very effective tool in war for centuries after centuries. And the people would light up the skies. They would light these things on fire and just wreak havoc on your camp, burning your tents down. And then even scarier than that is at night they would send these things, this barrage of arrows at night. You wouldn't see anything. They just start hitting. And all you would hear is the whistles that they would make. And they'd start coming in at 100 miles an hour into the camp. It's a very, very effective tool in war. My question is, well, how do you defend yourself against such a tool? Well, the answer to that is right here. The answer to the arrows is the shield of faith.
Hey there, this is Mike at Corner Fringe Ministries. Thanks for watching our video. If you liked the video or it encouraged you, do us a favor. Hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the share. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Now, if you want to watch the rest of this video, hit the button here. And if you want to watch the rest of this series, you can check it out here. And don't forget, you can download the Corner Fringe Ministries app today on any of your Play stores. Thanks for joining us at Corner Fringe Ministries.